attachment has the negative effect of clouding your vision and narrowing your vision, and which I totally agree. What we are trying to achieve in this practice of equanimity is to overcome these feelings of partiality and these feelings of fluctuating thoughts and emotion, so that we can deal with all others, relate to all others with even-handedness. I would also like to express my appreciation of the general Western emphasis on objectivity. There's a constant emphasis on the need for objectivity. However, I do also detect a major contradiction, because when you talk to people from various professions, particularly from Western, in the Western countries, there seems to be a tremendous amount of kind of attachment to their own profession, tremendous amount of, one could say, investment of identification, so much so that they feel as if this profession is so vital, almost indispensable, and for the world's kind of well-being, that if this profession becomes degenerate, the whole world will suffer. There seems to be that kind of attitude. This really suggests that there is a more than appropriate level of attachment, and this is Tsongkhapa, the great Tibetan thinker, has once said that sometimes people have a tendency to pick up one piece of grain, and then making an observation on this, and then saying that all the grains in the whole universe is just like this. So there seems to be that kind of total attachment to one's own narrow perspectives.
So
there seems to be a contradiction between these two kind of aspects of the Western psyche. So in this practice of developing equanimity towards all, sometimes it is helpful to do some visualizations. For example, one can imagine in front of you 3 different individuals, someone who is close to you, someone whom you feel great intimacy and closeness and attachment, and someone whom you regard as being your enemy, someone that you dislike, and then take someone in the middle who is completely neutral towards you, towards whom you feel indifference. And then once you have visualized these 3 individuals in front of you, and then kind of let your natural emotions and thoughts arise in you, how you relate to these 3 different individuals. And once you are able to allow your natural feelings to arise, then you will notice that towards loved ones, you will feel a sense of closeness and also great attachment. And then towards the individual that you dislike, of course, there will be a feeling of dislike, maybe even hostility, and of course, there's a feeling of distance. And then towards the individual who is neutral, then there will be hardly any feeling of emotion. There will be total indifference. And then try to reason, why do I feel such fluctuating emotions towards these 3 different individuals? Why do I feel so attached to the loved ones? And then you might begin to see that there are certain grounds that such a person is dear to you, such a person has done this and that to you, such a person is related to me in those ways. But if you then ask yourself, are these characteristics permanent? That is not necessarily the case. A friend may be a friend today and not at some other time. And especially from a Buddhist point of view, when we take into account the framework of many lifetimes, then the individual who may be very close to you in this life may have been your enemy in some other life, and may have done some really bad things towards you. So there is no real grounds for feeling that extremely attached, that extreme kind of emotion. And then similarly, when you turn your attention towards someone that you dislike, and you examine, on what grounds do I feel such negative emotions towards that person? So there is a kind of a temporality to the quality of being enemy. So you begin to see that there is no real grounds, justifiable grounds for having such extreme hatred or negativity towards that person. And then you look at the individual in the middle, you may feel totally indifferent, but then, if you begin to examine and raise the same kind of questions, that individual may have been hardly any relevance to your life in this life, but may have been a very important part of life in some other lives in the past, or even in this lifetime. That individual may become someone important in your life at some point. So then you begin to, when you do this kind of visualization, then it helps you to really level out the extreme fluctuating emotions that you feel towards others, and then kind of establish a kind of a stable basis to build a more healthy sense of closeness.
진설식 송디 년부도와 당용 서시 참배 출린식 닝지사비 균제 매발에 장심 준신 조배 장심 준신 조와 스소.
So Gyaltsab Rinpoche has given a wonderful imagery or analogy. He compares the equanimity as a level ground, a fertile soil. So once you have laid out the field, then you can plant the seed of compassion. Sorry, and then and you water that soil with the moisture of love, and then plant the seed. And when you plant the seed of compassion continuously and nurture it, and then the shoot of bodhicitta, the altruistic intention, will naturally grow. So that's a beautiful imagery.
those samdana, those samdana, and samdana, I said, when I read some of it, I didn't want to touch to touch the time, that recommend that Lambarisha, some do something.
So when you think along these lines from various angles, then you will begin to feel that perhaps the extreme fluctuating emotions that we tend to feel towards others, that we tend to relate to others in those terms, is perhaps unwise.
Teneda, mat me chambe, nyandu trubia, that dimere. That tell any, she sold in Gyawa Tomameva. Any, Nagi Tomameva. The neg some dani, any, Matzor to it, Nyandu Moju Yamaris, to Stupiari.
And then the second stage, after having developed this equanimity towards all, then the second stage is then the cultivation of a thought of relating to all others as someone who is very dear to you, someone close to you, like a mother or like a father or like a friend. And here, of course, the teachings take into account the idea of beginningless lifetimes. So all other sentient beings have been at one point of their lives, been our mother or been our father or a close friend and so on. So it is through this way you relate to others and try to develop a sense of closeness.
And to do negri, the mati, but to do Kashapana, Pati Yamdolia, Kunyamniching, you are.
The reason why in the traditional literature there is tremendous emphasis placed on viewing all other sentient beings as mother is that the fact is, in the natural world, when it comes to the nurturing and bringing up of an offspring, it is predominantly the mother who plays a critical role. We can see that even in the animal realm, although there are exceptions where the father also plays a critical role. For example, there are some species of birds where the mother hardly participates in the building of the nest, and it's the father, the male bird, that really works hard and builds the nest, and often the female bird is just watching and inspecting, and which does seem to be quite appropriate and fair that the male takes a greater responsibility in the nurturing. But however, that's not the case. So generally, it is the mother that really plays a critical role in nurturing their offsprings. If we look at the example of butterflies, the butterflies lay their egg. There is no possibility that the mother is ever going to really meet the offspring when the caterpillars come out. But even then, the mother make sure that the egg is laid in a very secure area, where there is food, where there is a protection. Of course,